I knew something was wrong the moment Mr. Bennet said my name, and there was nothing after it. Not "to Grace I leave," not "my eldest daughter will receive," just my name, hanging in the air of that stuffy little conference room above the high street, followed by silence and the sound of my sister's bracelets gently clinking as she shifted in her seat. My mum's will was open on the polished table. I was sitting on the left, hands clenched so tight in my lap my knuckles were white. To my right, Lily was half leaning back in her chair, all blow-dried hair and nude lipstick, the picture of tasteful grief in her black dress. Across from us, Mr. Bennet adjusted his glasses and read in that flat, careful voice solicitors use when they know a bomb is about to go off. To my younger daughter, Lillian Turner, I leave the entirety of my estate. This includes the house at 14 Willow Close, my shares in Turner's Kitchen Limited, all savings held in my name, and the contents of my personal accounts listed in Schedule A. My ears started ringing. I watched Lily's profile. She didn't smile, not quite, but her shoulders straightened. She shot me the quickest glance, then looked back at Mr. Bennet with this tiny, fake brave expression she'd practiced in mirrors and Instagram stories for years. I waited for the next bit, the part where he'd say my name and some token amount, a small bequest, even just my jewelry box or the old piano, something to say I existed. "And to my elder daughter, Grace Elizabeth Turner," he went on, "I leave my love, my blessing, and the comfort of knowing she is strong enough to stand on her own 2 feet, as she has always done." That was it. That was all. I actually thought I'd misheard him. I blinked. "Sorry," I said, my voice coming out hoarse. "What?" Mr. Bennet looked up at me, face soft with something like pity. "That is the full wording, Grace." "No," I said slowly, shaking my head. The room felt too bright, the walls too close. "There must be, the house, the cafe. All of it goes to Lily? And I get a compliment?" "Not just a compliment," Lily cut in, her voice doing that gentle, patronizing thing she used on her followers. "Mum knew you'd never want to be tied down. You said that, remember? You said you didn't need anything from her, that you'd make your own way." "That was when I was covering her shifts at the cafe and doing her washing," I snapped, turning sharply to her. "Not when Dad's savings and our childhood home were on the line." "Ladies," Mr. Bennet said quietly, lifting a hand. He was an older man, mid-50s, gray hair neatly parted, the same man who'd done our conveyancing when Mum bought the cafe 15 years ago. "I know this is emotional, but I can only tell you what's written and properly executed." "How long ago did she sign that?" I demanded. "This version." He flipped through the pages. "This will was executed 10 months before your mother's death." 10 months. That was after her first small stroke. After I'd practically moved back into Mum's house for 6 weeks to help her recover, sleeping on the sofa, doing her physio exercises with her while Lily was too busy with brand partnerships and dinner events in London. "She changed it after the stroke?" I said slowly. My throat felt raw. "She never told me." "Mum didn't want you worrying," Lily said quickly. "She didn't want all this." She flicked her wrist vaguely at the room. "Lawyers and fighting, she wanted things simple." "Simple for you," I said. "You get everything. You don't have to share. You don't have to deal with me having opinions. Very simple." Her jaw tightened. "You moved out, Grace. You've got your own life in Leeds, your own flat, your own boyfriend." I stayed. I helped her with the cafe. I did the real work. It was such a familiar line it almost made me laugh. I'd been listening to versions of "Lily does the real work" since I was 12. I opened my mouth to answer, but Mr. Bennet cleared his throat again. "There is something else," he said. "Your mother left an additional document, a personal letter. It's addressed to you, Grace." My heart lurched. "To me?" "Yes," he said, sliding a plain white envelope across the table. My name was on it in Mum's slightly shaky handwriting. "For Grace, to be opened after the will." Lily leaned forward. "Did she leave one for me?" she asked quickly. Mr. Bennet's gaze didn't move from mine. No, just this one. A flash of something ugly crossed Lily's face. Jealousy maybe, even after just inheriting everything worth inheriting. What does it say? She demanded, eyes flicking between the envelope and my face. I tucked it into my handbag without opening it. My fingers were trembling. If she wanted you to know, I said, she'd have addressed it to you. Grace, she snapped, don't start. Mrs. Turner, Mr. Bennet said gently to her, then to me. I would strongly advise you both to take some time. This is a lot. A lot? I repeated, letting out a short, bitter laugh. That's one way of putting it. My mother just wiped me out of existence with a sentence, and you're calling it a lot. There are legal options if you wish to explore them, he began carefully, glancing at me. Challenging a will is not straightforward, but with your mother's health history and… I don't want to fight Lily for her prize, I cut in, lying through my teeth so cleanly I almost convinced myself. If this is what Mum really wanted, I'll accept it. Lily gave me a pointed look like she didn't believe me for a second. She was right not to. But I will read whatever she left for me, I added, and then I'll decide what I think of her wishes. I needed to get out of that room. The mix of Lily's expensive perfume, old carpet, and legal jargon was making me feel sick. Outside on the street, the air tasted like petrol and rain. My partner Jamie was leaning against the wall, hands in his jacket pockets, waiting. When he saw my face, he straightened. How did it go? I laughed, the sound sharp and wrong. Brilliant, I said. Mum left Lily everything, house, cafe, money. I got a motivational quote. His brow creased. You're joking. I shook my head, suddenly so tired my knees felt weak. Nope. Apparently my reward is knowing I'm strong enough to stand on my own 2 feet. He swore under his breath. Grace. And she left me this. I patted my bag. Letter. From beyond the grave. Do you want to read it at home? He asked gently. Or, if I wait, I'll just sit on the train thinking about it, I said. There was a bench by the bus stop a few doors down. We sat. My hands shook as I pulled out the envelope. Mum's handwriting looked older than I remembered, wobblier. For a second, I couldn't bring myself to open it. All I could hear was her voice in my head, sharp as ever. Don't slouch, Grace. Standards, please. You're the sensible one, Grace. Don't let your sister show you up. When I'm gone, you'll be all right. You always are. I tore it open. Grace, my girl. It began. I had to blink hard because my eyes blurred at the words. If Mr. Bennet has given you this, it means I've gone and you're probably furious with me. You have every right to be. What I did to you in that will wasn't fair, I know that. But it's not the worst thing I did to you. I frowned. Jamie shifted closer. I need you to know the truth, the letter went on. Or at least as much of it as I have the courage to put on paper. I can't ask you to forgive me. But maybe if you understand why, you won't spend the rest of your life thinking you weren't enough. My chest tightened. I read on. When your dad, Tom, died, he left us very little. You remember the funeral, the bills, the way I panicked. What you don't remember because we didn't tell you is that he had an insurance policy from the factory. Not huge, but enough. £50,000. He wanted that money ring-fenced for you. We opened a savings account in your name, with me as custodian for your future. I froze. What? I whispered. I had no memory of any of that. Back then, I'd been 15, dazed with grief, trying to keep Lily, who was 10, from falling apart. I told him I agreed, Mum's letter said. I told him I'd never touch it, and for a while I didn't, but then I got the chance to buy the cafe. I remembered that time crystal clear, Mum coming home, eyes bright for the first time since Dad died, talking about our chance and being our own boss. I'd been 16 and so desperate to see her happy, I'd have agreed to anything. The bank wouldn't give me the full loan, she wrote. I had some savings of my own, but not enough for the deposit. So I did the thing I told myself I would never do. I took the money from your account, bit by bit at first, then all at once. I told myself it was for the family, that we'd pay it back. that you'd understand someday. My hand flew to my mouth. Jamie put his arm around my shoulders, steadying me. I used your money to buy Turner's kitchen, the letter continued. Every latte, every cake, every long shift you did there after school. You were working in the business you paid for, without knowing. And instead of telling you that, I told you that you owed me for putting a roof over your head. My stomach churned. Memories flooded in. Me, at 17, wiping tables after closing time while my friends went to A-levels revision sessions. Me, turning down a place at a uni in London because Mum said we couldn't afford to lose my help at the cafe, and you can't expect me to bankroll you, Grace. There's more, the letter said, and I almost didn't want to read it, but I forced myself. When Lily turned 18, she wanted to go to uni in London. There was no money left in your fund, and the cafe was only just breaking even. I should have told her no. I should have told her she'd have to get loans like everyone else. But she cried and said it wasn't fair, you got to have a fund, and she didn't. I panicked. I was so afraid she'd run off and never forgive me if I didn't give her what she wanted. So I did another unforgivable thing. I told her your dad's account had been for the girls, and I split what was left of my savings between you on paper. I made it look like you'd both had the same when in truth I'd already spent what was supposed to be yours. I felt like I'd been punched. What? Jamie said quietly. She told Lily that money was half hers? I encouraged her jealousy of you, Mum wrote. I let her believe I was constantly bailing you out, when in reality, you were the one picking up the slack. Every fight you had because she said you were selfish, every time she accused you of getting special treatment from me, that was my fault. I poisoned the well between you. A bus rattled past. I barely heard it. It got worse after the stroke. The letter went on. My head wasn't right. I was tired all the time. I was scared. Lily started bringing me papers to sign up for the cafe and for the house. She said she was taking things off my plate. I wanted to believe her. It felt good to be looked after instead of doing all the looking after for once. Then Rosa came round with the accounts. Rosa, our accountant, Mum's friend from church. She showed me things that didn't add up, the letter said. Transfers out of the business to an account Lily set up in her own name, luxury purchases put through as marketing, a life insurance policy on me tied to the company. I thought I was clever all these years, and it turns out my own daughter learned how to play me better than I ever realized. I swallowed hard. Life insurance, I murmured. Jamie's hand tightened on my arm. On your mum? She would have got all of it, I said, voice flat. On top of the will. I called Mr. Bennett, Mum's letter said. I told him I wanted to change the will, put things back to what they were before Lily started whispering in my ear. I told him about the money I took from you, about the account. I even had Rosa print out statements and put them on a USB stick for you. I wanted to make it right. At least a bit. We arranged a meeting for the following month to sign the new will. I made a video for you, as well, so you'd hear it from my own mouth in case the papers went missing. Then my heart had other ideas. I shut my eyes. I could see it. Mum in her kitchen, grumbling about indigestion, brushing off the GP's warnings about blood pressure. I haven't got time to be ill, Grace, she'd snapped at me. There's a business to run. 3 weeks later, she was on the floor of the stockroom, and by the time the paramedics got there, it was over. I asked Mr. Bennett to keep the papers and the USB safe for you, the letter finished. I know this is a mess. I know I made it one. I allowed Lily to think she was the only one I trusted because it was easier than looking at my own guilt over what I'd done to you. If you decide to walk away and let her have everything, I understand. You've already had to let go of so much because of me. But if you decide to fight her, to fight for what your dad wanted for you, for what you earned 100 times over with all those late nights at the cafe, then know you have my blessing. You are not crazy. You are not greedy. You are my strongest girl. Use that strength now. I love you. I always did. I just didn't always show it in a way you could feel. Mum. When I finished, my hands were shaking so badly I had to hand the pages to Jamie before I ripped them. Jesus, he breathed, reading fast. Grace, this is huge. She stole my future, I said softly. My voice sounded weirdly calm in my own ears. Dad's money, my chance to leave sooner, go to uni like I wanted. Mum took it and put it into the cafe, and then into Lily, and then they both acted like I was the one who was a burden. Jamie looked at me carefully. What are you thinking? I watched a taxi pull away from the curb, a mum with a buggy hurrying past, a boy on a scooter weaving around people. The world was still moving. Mine had stopped and then restarted in a different place. I'm thinking, I said slowly, that I am not going to sit back and let Lily swan around my dad's house and call me independent like it's a dirty word. I'm thinking I want every penny my father meant for me, and I want the truth about what Lily's been doing to come out. In a way, she can't spin on Instagram. Jamie's eyes softened. So, revenge, he said quietly. Legal revenge, I corrected. Careful revenge, the kind that sticks. I went back to Mr. Bennett's office the next day. He looked unsurprised to see me. I assume you've read the letter, he said. Yes, I replied. She mentioned papers, a USB stick. Do you still have them? He nodded and pulled out a heavy brown envelope from his fireproof cabinet. Your mother gave this to me 3 weeks before she died. She told me to give it to you only after the current will had been read. She said you'd need it to make up your own mind about things. My throat tightened as I took it. Inside, more than Mum's words now. Cold, hard numbers. Evidence. I need a good solicitor, I said quietly. One who isn't tied to my mother or my sister. Someone who isn't scared of messy family fights. He studied me for a moment. Challenging a will is stressful, he said. It will make things worse between you and Lily before they get better. The cafe, the house. There's a good chance everything will be tied up for a long time. Things are already worse, I said. She was happy to sit there and watch me get nothing. She knew Mum had strokes, knew she was confused, and she still let her sign that will. Probably pushed her into it. I'm done playing the good daughter who doesn't cause trouble. He nodded slowly. In that case, I can recommend someone. Her name's Sarah Knight, very good with contentious probate. He scribbled a name and number on a card and slid it across to me. And Grace? For what it's worth, your mother spoke about you a lot. She was proud of you. She was who she was. She was a coward, I said softly, surprising myself with the bluntness. Right up to the very end, but at least in the end, she tried to do one brave thing. On the train back to Leeds that afternoon, I plugged the USB into my laptop. Rows of files appeared, statements from my childhood savings account, business accounts for Turner's Kitchen, copies of emails, a video file named For Grace. My hands were clammy as I clicked on the video. Mum's face filled the screen, slightly distorted by the cheap webcam. She was at the kitchen table, the floral oilcloth I'd grown up with underneath her elbows. She looked thinner, grayer round the eyes, but very much herself. Is this thing even on? She muttered, then leaned back. Right. Grace. It's me, obviously. She gave a short, humorless laugh. If you're seeing this, it means I've failed in at least 3 ways, so that's promising. I felt my throat close up. I'm not going to ramble, she went on, though she always did. I want you to hear this in my voice, not just from Bennett reading it or Rosa tutting over numbers. I did things I'm not proud of, to you, in front of you, behind your back. I told myself it was all for the family, but the truth is, a lot of it was for my pride. She swallowed. Your dad wanted you to have choices. I took those choices because I didn't have the courage to struggle a bit more or tell Lily no. I let her wind me round her little finger with tears and tantrums. And then, when she started helping me with paperwork, I let her wind the whole house round her finger. Her eyes flashed. She's not evil, you know. She's just never heard enough in her life. Every time you did something right, I leaned on you more. Every time she did something right, I threw her a party. I built that monster. Jamie shifted on the seat next to me, watching over my shoulder. Mum continued. Now she's moving money out of the cafe without asking. She's using our suppliers for her own little side thing. She's got this idea that she's the star of the show and we're all just extras. I tried to put my foot down. I really did. But she knows where my weak spots are. You wouldn't want to embarrass me, would you, Mum? You wouldn't want people thinking you don't trust your own daughter. And I caved, over and over. You, on the other hand. You were easy to take for granted. You did the work and didn't complain unless it got really bad. Even when you did complain, I knew you'd still turn up the next morning and do the early shift. She gave a small, pained smile. If there's any justice, Lily will have to answer for what she's doing, to me, to the business, to you. But justice doesn't usually walk in on its own. Sometimes it needs a shove. That's what this is, a shove. I'm putting the numbers in your hands. Do what you need to do with them. And Grace? Don't let her tell you you're bitter or jealous or crazy if you fight. You're not. You're right. The video ended with her reaching forward to turn off the camera, muttering about stupid buttons. My chest hurt. I wiped at my face, annoyed to find tears there. How you doing? Jamie asked quietly. I'm angrier than I thought I'd be, I admitted. And weirdly, a tiny bit relieved. I always thought I was imagining the favoritism. That maybe I was making a fuss over nothing. Now it's all there in numbers and her own words. He nodded. So, step 1? Step 1, I repeated, clicking into the folders. We build a case. Sarah Knight turned out to be in her early 40s, sharp bob, sharper mind. I met her in a small office above a coffee shop in town. As I told her everything, Mum's letter, the video, the savings account, the will. She took notes in neat, fast handwriting, occasionally asking short, precise questions. And your mother's health at the time this latest will was signed? She asked. She'd had a stroke about 6 months before, I said. Nothing major on paper, that's what the consultant said anyway. But she was slower, tired. She got confused about the days sometimes, repeated herself, got muddled with numbers. And who took over most of the admin for the cafe? Sarah asked, one eyebrow lifting. Lily, I said. Mum called her her right hand. And your mother didn't discuss the will change with you at all? She went on. No, I said. The last will I knew about was years ago, and that one split everything 50-50. Sarah sat back, pen tapping her notebook. Right. Here's the thing, Grace. Courts don't like to overturn wills just because they seem unfair. Parents are allowed to favor one child over another, even if it's objectively horrible. What they don't like is when there's evidence that the will was made under pressure, or when the person didn't properly understand what they were signing. That's undue influence and lack of capacity. That's where we've got something. So you think, I swallowed, you think I have a case? I think, she said slowly, you have documents showing your mother wanted to change things back before she died. I think you have bank statements showing Lily has been treating the business like her personal cash machine. I think you have a video of your mother saying, in her own words, that your sister was manipulating her. And I think you have a judge out there who won't like any of that one bit. She met my eyes. The question is, do you have the stomach for a fight that could drag on for a year or more and will make family Christmases impossible forever? There haven't been proper family Christmases since Dad died, I said. I spent the last 3 at that cafe, serving other people their turkey. I don't have anything left to lose there. Sarah's mouth curved. In that case, let's cause some trouble. We filed a claim to contest the will on the grounds of undue influence and lack of testamentary capacity. We asked the court to pause probate and freeze the major assets, the house and the cafe, until things were decided. Sarah explained that meant Lily couldn't sell or remortgage the house, couldn't quietly transfer the business to herself. She'll still be able to keep it running day to day, she said. But the big moves, she'll be blocked. It'll drive her mad. We sent the claim to Mr. Bennett, who had to pass it on to Lily. It landed, apparently, the same morning she was hosting a brunch and brand event at the cafe for some local bloggers, because about an hour later, my phone lit up with her name. I stared at it ringing for a few seconds. Jamie, washing up mugs in the sink, glanced over. You going to answer? I sighed. Might as well. I swiped. Hello? Are you actually insane? Lily's voice came down the line, high and tight. What is this? What do you think you're doing? Good afternoon to you too, I said dryly. You're contesting Mum's will? She practically shrieked. You? Miss, I don't need anything from you, Mum. I've got my own job. I said I didn't want to be her unpaid skivvy forever, I corrected calmly. Not that I wanted to fund your lifestyle. You've been talking to her little cronies, haven't you? She snapped. Rosa, Bennett, they've always had it in for me. They don't understand what I've done for that cafe. I've been talking to Mum, I said. Her letter, her video, the account statements she left me. Silence. Then, more quietly. What account statements? The ones showing Dad's insurance money going into my account when I was 15, I said. The ones showing Mum draining it for the cafe. The ones showing money leaving the cafe account and landing in L.A. Turner Creative Services every month. Ring any bells? That was legitimate business, she said quickly. I could hear the edge of panic under the anger. Marketing, content creation, trips to Ibiza, designer handbags, teeth whitening, I listed. You really should have been more careful what you put on your stories, Lil, posting about paying for things with the business card while claiming it was all your hard-earned. It's almost funny. You're just jealous, she spat. You could never stand that Mum saw something in me. What Mum saw was someone she could live through, I said evenly. And then you saw someone you could bleed dry. Well, that tap's turning off. If you drag this through court, she hissed, you'll ruin everything. The cafe, Mum's name, my career. People will talk. They already are, I said. I'd had 3 messages in the last week from old staff at Turner's Kitchen saying things like, we heard what you're doing. Good on you. She's been a nightmare. People noticed more than Lily realized. I just want what's fair, I went on. Half of the house, of the business, of what Dad and Mum built, and I want there to be a record of what you did. So you can't ever rewrite this as you being the victim. Her breath came down the line, sharp and shaky. You're going to regret this, she said finally, then hung up. For a while, all I did was work my job at the council during the day, then come home and build my case. Jamie would make dinner while I went through each transaction in the cafe accounts, highlighter in hand, marking the really outrageous stuff. Jesus, he said one night, peering over my shoulder. Won you $200 at a spa in York? Client entertainment, apparently, I said. And this? He pointed to another line. $800 at a hair salon? I snorted. That's when she got the extensions. She did a whole self-care day vlog about it. We made a spreadsheet, date, amount, description, screenshot of Lily's post from around that date showing the purchase, tagged with Tanchar ad si Taj Tanchar gifted when it suited her. See hard work when it didn't. I almost feel sorry for her solicitor, Jamie said at one point, having to stand up and argue that getting veneers is a necessary business expense. In between the numbers, I had moments where guilt crept in. Nights when I lay awake and heard Mum's real laugh in my head, the way she'd sounded on the rare lazy Sunday when we closed early and ate fish and chips in the back of the cafe. I'd think, does she deserve to have her name dragged through court like this? Then I'd remember her own words. Justice doesn't walk in on its own. Sometimes it needs a shove. One afternoon, I met Rosa for coffee in town. She looked smaller than I remembered, shoulders bowed, dark circles under her eyes. I tried to tell your mum she needed to slow down, she said, stirring her tea. Money's important, yes, but there's no point killing yourself for it. She just scoffed. I'll sleep when I'm dead, she said. I didn't think she meant it literally. You did what you could, I said. She gave me a wary look. I also signed off on some of those transfers. Under pressure, I should have pushed back harder. I was scared of losing the account. You're willing to tell the court that? I asked gently. She grimaced. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, I said. Mum had choices. Lily has choices. So do I. I'm choosing not to keep this quiet anymore. She met my gaze, then nodded, something like resolve settling in her face. Then yes, I'll tell them. All of it. How many times your mum cried in my office because she didn't know how to say no to Lily? How many times Lily turned up with chocolates and a list of things she wanted me to tweak? It's about time someone called her out. The first hearing was mostly technical: dates, procedure, whether the estate should stay frozen. Lily turned up in a sleek black trouser suit, full glam makeup, hair glossy. Only I, and maybe Rosa sitting behind me, could see the tightness in her shoulders, the way her hands wouldn't stay still. Her solicitor argued hard against the asset freeze. My client is trying to keep a small business afloat in a difficult economy, he said. Restricting her access to funds will harm not just her, but her staff. Sarah stood and, in her calm, crisp voice, read out a handful of the more outrageous expense lines we'd highlighted. There was a ripple of amusement from the public seats when she mentioned the veneers. The judge, a middle-aged woman with an expression like stone, frowned slightly. "Miss Turner," she said, looking at Lily, "you understand that if these are personal expenses, they should not be coming out of company funds." Lily's lips pressed together. "It's all part of brand image," she said tightly. "People come to the cafe because of me, my following. That's marketing." "And is your following also why you purchased first-class tickets to Paris and stayed at the Ritz?" the judge asked dryly. "Because that appears here under supplies." There was a muffled cough from somewhere behind us that sounded a lot like someone trying not to laugh. Even I had to bite the inside of my cheek. In the end, the judge kept the freeze in place, with some allowances for genuine business expenses approved by an independent accountant. It was a small win, but it felt enormous. For the first time ever, Lily had someone saying no to her and making it stick. The real hearing months later was the hardest thing I've ever done. Giving evidence about your own mother's failings in a public room, with your sister glaring at you like you've stabbed her, is brutal. Sarah led me gently through my childhood, the cafe, Dad's death, the missed chances. At one point she asked, "Did you ever consider going away to university?" "I got an offer from King's College London," I said, "to do English." "And did you go?" she asked. "No," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mum said we couldn't afford it, that I'd be selfish to leave her with the cafe and Lily. She said I could always study later when things were more stable. They never were." "And did you know at that time that your father had left an insurance payout earmarked for you?" Sarah went on. "No," I repeated. "I found that out from her letter after she died. That's the first time I'd ever heard of it. She showed me the bank statements. I confirmed the account was in my name. She showed me pictures of me in my Turner's kitchen apron at 16, red-eyed but smiling. It felt like a different lifetime. Then they played Mum's video. Seeing her on that screen in the courtroom, hearing her admit to things I'd only ever suspected, was like being flayed and stitched back together all at once. When she said, "I built that monster," I saw Lily flinch out of the corner of my eye. On cross-examination, Lily's barrister tried to paint me as resentful, absent, ungrateful. He asked why I'd moved to Leeds, why I hadn't visited more often, whether I'd ever told Mum I didn't need her money. "I said I didn't want her controlling me with it," I replied. "That's different." He suggested the video might have been recorded when Mum was confused, that she might have been paranoid. "Mum was many things," I said, "but paranoid isn't one of them. If anything, she trusted Lily too much, not too little." Rosa testified too, voice shaking at first, then growing stronger as she spoke. Daniel, the life insurance broker, was questioned about who had initiated the policy. He admitted it had been Lily's idea. By the time Lily took the stand, you could feel the room's mood had shifted. Whatever sympathy she'd come in with as the dutiful daughter had been eroded by numbers and Mum's own words. She cried. Of course she did. She talked about the pressure she'd been under, about building Mum's dream, and how hard it was when I bailed and moved away. She said Mum wanted her to have everything because Grace has her own life. Sarah let her talk, then, very gently, began to pull the thread. "If you were under such pressure, Miss Turner," she said, "why did you spend over £20,000 in 1 year on personal luxury items through the business? They weren't all personal, Lily said. I had to look the part. Brand deals depend on, and the life insurance, Sarah asked. You said you took it out to protect the cafe. Can you explain why you structured it to pay into your personal account via your company, not into the cafe account? Lily hesitated. It was cleaner that way. For tax. For tax, Sarah repeated, deadpan. Nothing to do with wanting to keep any payout away from your sister. Should the will change? Her jaw clenched. I didn't even know Mum was thinking of changing the will. Really? Sarah lifted a brow. Because in your mother's video, she says she told you she was going to speak to Mr. Bennett about it, and that you were furious. She was confused, Lily snapped, temper flaring through the polished surface. The judge watched her closely. It was subtle, but it was there. The moment they saw a flash of the person I'd grown up with behind the grief performance. When it was over, when all the bank statements had been poured over and all the witnesses grilled, we waited. Weeks again. Life shrank to work, emails from Sarah, and the relentless what-ifs spinning in my head. I thought a lot about what I actually wanted. At the start, it had been simple. Money, justice, a hammer blow to Lily's arrogance. But as the process went on, something shifted. I wanted a record, in black and white, that what happened to me wasn't just how it is or not that bad. That it was wrong. When the judgment finally came through, Sarah called me into her office again. My stomach was in knots as she read. The judge found that at the time Mum had signed the last will, there was significant evidence of cognitive impairment and undue influence. The court is not persuaded, the judgment said, that the 2022 will represents the free and independent wishes of the deceased. Rather, it appears to be the result of sustained pressure by the main beneficiary, Ms. Lily Turner, at a time when the deceased was reliant on her for physical and administrative support. My hands were sweating. Sarah grinned. In light of this, she read, the 2022 will is set aside. The court reinstates the last valid will, executed in 2014, which leaves the estate equally to both daughters. Air rushed out of my lungs. I hadn't realized I'd been holding it. There's more, Sarah said, eyes dancing. She's ordered a full forensic audit of the cafe accounts and recommended HMRC take an interest in the creative expenses. She can't bring criminal charges herself, but she's made it very clear someone should look closely at how Lily's been running things. And the insurance? I asked. My voice came out small. The judge didn't void the policy, Sarah said. It's a separate contract, but she did strongly suggest that any payout should be taken into account when you divide the rest of the estate. Translation: if Lily tries to pocket it quietly and you bring that back to court, it won't go well for her. I sat there, light-headed. Half the house, half the cafe, half whatever was left after debts and costs. A recognition, finally, that I was not an afterthought. How do you feel? Sarah asked. I laughed, a little wildly, like I want to be sick and dance at the same time. In the end, Lily didn't fight the division much. I think by then she was too busy dealing with accountants and letters with scary headings from HMRC. Turner's Kitchen had to restate its last 3 years of accounts. There were penalties. She ended up selling her car, downsizing her flat in London. We put the house on the market. Clearing it was its own quiet grief. I found my old acceptance letter from King's crumpled in the back of a drawer, yellowed with age. I found a cook's apron with my name still scribbled on the tag. I found a jewelry box with a little note from Mum tucked inside. For Grace one day. All costume stuff, nothing fancy, but she'd put it aside for me at some point, then forgotten. We split the money when it sold. I paid off my few remaining debts, put a deposit down on a small terraced house with Jamie, and transferred a chunk into a savings account with my name on it. This time, only mine. As for the cafe, after everything came out, business dropped. People in town don't like feeling taken for a ride. Some loyal customers stayed, but the aura Lily had tried to build around it as this aspirational lifestyle hub faded fast. In the end, we agreed to sell. A young couple took it over, rebranded, kept a couple of Mum's old recipes on the menu as a nod. The day we signed the final papers, I walked past the window and saw someone scraping Turner's Kitchen off the glass. It hurt, and then it didn't. That name had been built on my dad's money, my mum's fear, my free labor, and my sister's greed. Let it go, I thought. Let something cleaner take its place. Lily and I barely spoke through all of this. The few times we did, it was via solicitors. Once, though, a few months after the dust settled, she messaged and asked to meet just us. Curiosity, or maybe some leftover sense of history, made me agree. We met in a chain coffee shop halfway between our cities. She looked smaller, not physically, still slim, still pulled together, but diminished somehow. The brightness had gone out of her eyes. There were faint lines at the corners that hadn't been there a year before. "You got what you wanted," she said as soon as we sat. "Happy now?" I stirred my tea. "I didn't want any of this," I said. "I wanted a mum who didn't play favorites and a sister who didn't see me as competition. Failing that, I wanted what was mine." "You ruined me," she said quietly. "Brands have dropped me. People talk. I walk into the cafe and I can feel what they're thinking." "You ruined yourself," I replied. "You're the one who thought you were entitled to everything, who talked Mum into signing things when she was ill, who spent company money like it was your own." She looked away, jaw working. "Mum always said you'd be all right," she murmured. "Maybe that's why she thought she could do what she wanted with you." "Mum was wrong about a lot of things," I said softly, "including that." We sat in silence for a moment. People around us chatted, laptops glowed, life going on. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked finally. "Taking it to court, exposing her like that." "I regret that she didn't sort things out properly while she was alive," I said. "I regret that she let you and me rot against each other, but I don't regret standing up, no." "She left you that letter," Lily said, bitterness flickering. "She didn't leave me one." "She didn't have confessions to make to you," I said. Then, after a beat, "Not the same ones anyway." She flinched. "You always think you're better than me." "No," I replied. "I just think I made different choices." We parted awkwardly. No hugs, no "see you soon." I watched her walk away, shoulders hunched, and for a fleeting second, a wave of old sisterly protectiveness rose up in me. Then I remembered the feeling of sitting in that will reading, hearing, "I leave my love and blessing like a slap, and I let the wave break and recede." Back home, in our new little house, I stood in the kitchen one evening, cooking dinner, when Jamie came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. "You're quiet," he said into my hair. "Just thinking," I said. About how different this all could have been if Mum had told me the truth earlier. If she'd said, "I messed up, help me fix it," instead of doubling down and letting Lily run wild. He kissed the back of my head. "You can't rewrite the past." "I know," I said. "But I can make sure the story that gets told about it is the real one. Not Lily's version. Not Mum's edited highlights. Mine." I thought of that girl at 16 in her flour-spattered apron, closing the till while Mum counted the petty cash and Lily took selfies with her hot chocolate. I thought, I did right by you. Eventually. It took too long and it hurt, but I did. At the will reading, I got nothing. Not a pound, not a teacup. Just a line about being strong enough to stand on my own 2 feet. And for a moment, sitting there with my sister smirking beside me, I believed that meant I didn't matter, that I was the extra in their story. But Mum's secret, her theft of my future, her pride, and finally, her last flicker of honesty, didn't just break her. It broke the spell she'd cast over all of us. It shattered the picture of our family, where Lily was the sun, and I was just the moon borrowing light. Revenge, in the end, wasn't about shouting or smashing things. It was walking into a courtroom, putting numbers and words and memories on the record, and refusing to be gaslit about my own life. It was saying, out loud, this was wrong, and having someone in a robe bang a gavel and agree. Mum's cafe is gone now, at least in name. Dad's money is finally where he intended it to be, giving me choices. Lily is learning, painfully, that actions have consequences that can't be filtered away. And me? I'm still standing. On my own 2 feet, yes, but this time not because I was pushed to, because I chose to.